Picture the ultimate survival mechanism in a really harsh, unforgiving environment. Like if you imagine the middle of a sun-baked desert, your mind probably goes straight to armor, right?
Oh, absolutely. You immediately think of thick scales or hard shells, like a biological fortress, basically.
Right.
A scorpion, maybe, or a desert beetle.
Yeah, exactly. The natural assumption is that to survive a world made of, sharp rocks and blistering heat and literal spikes, you have to become harder than the environment itself.
You fight harshness with hardness.
Right. But one of the most successful desert survivors of all time completely flips that script. And for this deep dive, that is our mission. We're looking at exactly how they do it.
It's a fascinating pivot.
It really is. And we are skipping the massive stack of articles today. Instead, we're doing an intense microscopic examination of a single, highly concentrated piece of source material.
Just one sentence, really.
Yep, one Arabic proverb. It's like a highly compressed zip file of ancient wisdom. And it translates to this, "How do you eat thorns, Uncle Camel?" with a sweet tongue.
It's such a striking juxtaposition. I mean, in just a handful of words, you are presented with this profound contrast.
Yeah, the sharpness versus the softness.
Exactly. You have the thorns, which represent the sharpness, the hostility, the unyielding nature of the environment. And then you have the sweet tongue, representing this surprising, totally counterintuitive softness in the response.
I want to linger on that literal imagery for a second before we get to the life lesson hidden inside of it, because frankly, I have a hard time wrapping my head around the physical reality of this.
The mechanics of eating thorns.
Right. Like eating thorns sounds less like a survival mechanism and more like a form of deliberate self-sabotage.
It sounds awful.
It sounds agonizing. If I bite down on a thorn, I am bleeding. So I find myself wondering, is the proverb just using colorful language for a calloused mouth?
Like the tongue just numb?
Yeah. Is the camel's tongue just so thick and deadened with nerve damage that it literally just doesn't feel the pain of the spikes?
Well, that is the instinctual reading, for sure. But looking closely at the language reveals a much deeper mechanism. It doesn't say with an armored tongue or with a numb tongue.
Right. It specifically says sweet.
It specifically says with a sweet tongue. The thorns represent the unavoidable realities of the camel's world. I mean, in a desert context, thorns are not some anomaly you could just walk around.
They're everywhere.
They are the standard flora.
Yeah.
The camel doesn't have the luxury of wandering off to find some lush, thorn-free meadow. It must consume the thorns to survive.
So it has to face them.
Exactly. The sweet tongue, therefore, represents the only variable the camel actually controls in that environment, its method of interaction.
Okay, but mechanically, how does a soft, sensitive piece of tissue survive a spike designed to puncture? It feels like if you push a soft object against a sharp needle, the needle wins every single time.
Well, think about the physical nature of a thorn. A thorn is a static defense mechanism. It doesn't attack you. It relies entirely on the momentum and the force of whatever is pressing against it. If you use brute force against a sharp point, you provide the exact resistance that the thorn needs to pierce you.
Oh, wow. So you're helping it.
You are essentially doing its job for it. Brute force against a thorn only drives it deeper into your flesh.
So the harder you bite, the deeper you bleed.
Precisely. By applying a sweet tongue, the camel disarms the difficulty. It uses the sensitivity of its tongue to feel the direction of the thorns.
Oh, I see.
It feels them to fold them down flat against the branch, to navigate around the sharpest point so they don't pierce the tissue. It actively finds the path of least resistance.
That requires a tremendous amount of sensory awareness, though. You can't just close your eyes, clamp your jaw shut, and hope for the best.
No, not at all.
Like, numbing out would actually be dangerous, because if you don't feel the thorn, you might swallow it sideways and tear your throat. You have to stay incredibly present with the sharp edges.
Yes, presence is the absolute requirement for gentleness here. The camel accepts the reality of the thorn and gently maneuvers it into a position where it can be processed safely.
That physical translation completely reframes the provided life lesson we have in our notes today.
It really opens it up.
Yeah, because the source text extracts this specific meaning from the proverb. A gentle and patient approach can make even the most difficult or unpleasant tasks manageable.
Manageable being the key word.
Right, and let's bring this into the modern reality of the person listening to this right now. We aren't wandering the desert eating scrub brush, obviously, but we face things daily that feel just as sharp.
The modern thorns.
The modern
Yep.
thorns, exactly. It could be tackling a dreaded, deeply complex spreadsheet at work where the data is just an absolute mess.
Ugh.
Or it could be navigating a highly uncomfortable interpersonal conflict with a partner or a colleague. You know, those conversations where every word feels like stepping on broken glass? When I face those kinds of thorns, my instinct is either to procrastinate and run away entirely or to use absolute brute force. I just want to rip the Band-Aid off.
Just get it over with.
Yeah. I sit at my desk, I tense my shoulders, I clench my jaw, and I just try to power through the unpleasantness with sheer aggression.
And that aggression is the psychological equivalent of chomping down on a mouthful of spikes.
It really is. You walk away from the task feeling exhausted, frustrated, and metaphorically bleeding.
Yes.
But what does a gentle approach actually look like in that scenario? Like, if I have a hostile work project or a terrifying conversation waiting for me, it feels like being gentle would just mean I'm moving slower, you know? Just prolonging the misery. Is the proverb just telling us to reduce our speed?
Not exactly. It points to a shift in mindset rather than just a shift in velocity.
Okay, how so?
Well, to understand why a patient and gentle approach works where force fails, we have to look at the concept of internal resistance. When you tense your shoulders and clench your jaw at your desk, you are actively fighting the reality of the task.
Because I don't want to be doing it.
Right. You are angry that the task is difficult. You are wishing the thorn was a leaf.
So I am exerting energy hating the spreadsheet instead of just doing the spreadsheet.
Exactly. That hatred, that tension, is the backing the thorn needs to pierce you. You are creating friction. A gentle approach means removing your own internal resistance to the unpleasantness. Think of a Chinese finger trap.
Oh, the woven bamboo tubes you put your index fingers into.
The very same. When you find yourself trapped in one, the immediate human instinct is to panic and pull your fingers apart as hard as you can.
Right, you want to break free.
But the harder you pull, the more brute force you apply. The tighter the woven bamboo constricts around your skin. Your own force traps you.
So fighting it makes it worse.
Yes. The only way to escape is counterintuitive. You
Yeah.
have to stop pulling. You have to relax your hands, accept the constriction, and gently push your fingers inward.
You have to lean into the discomfort softly to loosen the trap.
Exactly. By applying a gentle, patient approach, you remove the tension that gives the trap its power. When you stop fighting the fact that a task is unpleasant, you stop driving the thorn into your own skin.
That makes so much sense.
You accept the reality of the difficulty, which frees up all that wasted, resentful energy. You can then use that energy to methodically process the problem.
I want to look very closely at the promised result of this methodical processing, actually, because our source text is very deliberate with its vocabulary.
It is.
The lesson states that a gentle and patient approach can make even the most difficult tasks manageable. It is a very specific word choice, and to me, it's the anchor of the entire philosophy.
It strips away any illusion of a magical, painless fix.
Exactly. It doesn't say the gentle approach makes the task easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't claim that if you're just mindful enough, navigating a horrible family conflict will suddenly be fun.
No, not at all.
It guarantees none of that. It acknowledges that the thorns are sharp and the desert is hot, but it promises manageability.
Which is the difference between endurance and elimination.
Say more about that.
Well, modern culture often pushes the idea that we should be able to eliminate discomfort entirely, right? We seek life hacks to bypass the hard work, or we try to quote-unquote crush our obstacles so completely that they just disappear.
You want to pave the desert.
We want to pave the desert, which is impossible. The proverb validates the harshness of your experience. It tells you that the things you are facing are indeed thorns, but it proves that your success relies entirely on managing the friction rather than trying to obliterate the friction.
You know, it reminds me of trying to untangle a severely knotted necklace.
Oh, that is the perfect example.
Right. Imagine you have this delicate gold chain, and it has somehow turned into this impossible tight bird's nest of knots.
A uniquely frustrating puzzle.
Incredibly frustrating. Your heart rate actually goes up when you look at it. Now, if you get angry at that knot, if you use force to pull the ends hard and fast, hoping to just rip the tangle apart, what happens?
The knot immediately seizes up.
Yes. It becomes impenetrable. You might even snap the gold chain. You applied brute force to a complex problem and made it worse.
You did the knots job for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you take a breath and use gentle, patient, tiny movements...
The sweet tongue approach.
The sweet tongue approach, yes. You don't magically make the knot disappear. You still have to sit there under a bright light. It is still tedious. Your eyes still strain.
It still work.
It's still work. But because you are gently manipulating the loops, finding the path of least resistance, the knot eventually loosens. You take an impossible task and make it manageable through the sheer mechanics of gentleness.
That visualization captures the core utility of the proverb so well. It is about processing reality on reality's terms, but doing so with a grace that protects your own well-being.
Right.
The environment demands a certain toll. The difficult conversation with your partner is going to be uncomfortable. The massive reorganization of your finances is going to be tedious.
There's no hacking it.
Right. By trying to rush it, by letting anger dictate your movements, you are simply pulling the tangled loops tighter.
You are choosing to suffer twice, once from the task itself and once from your own resistance to it.
The sweet tongue is methodical. It takes the sharp edges, and rather than crushing them or being crushed by them, it aligns them so they can pass through without causing damage. It takes so much more strength to be gentle in a harsh situation than it does to just be aggressive.
Anger is a reflex. Force is a default setting. Gentleness requires a tremendous amount of intentional control.
It is the ultimate highly calibrated tool. We often equate softness with weakness. We think of armor as strong and tissue as vulnerable.
Yeah, that's the natural assumption.
But in the long game of survival, radical adaptability outperforms rigid armor every time. A hard shell can be cracked by a heavier stone.
Wow, yeah.
But a sweet tongue navigates the threat and extracts the nourishment hidden beneath it.
Let's trace the full arc of what we've unpacked today, because we've taken a very microscopic starting point and expanded it into a pretty robust framework for navigating daily friction.
We really have.
We started with the vivid image of an Arabic proverb, a camel standing in a harsh environment, eating a mouthful of spikes by using a sweet tongue.
We observed that applying brute force to a sharp obstacle only creates the backing the obstacle needs to puncture you.
Right. And we recognized our own modern instinct to tense up, rush, and apply aggression to difficult tasks, whether that's a complex project or a painful conversation. We essentially bite down on our own thorns.
And we discovered that by removing our internal resistance, by accepting the reality of the knot instead of pulling it tight, we strip the obstacle of its ability to cause us unnecessary suffering.
Finally, we learned that the goal of this gentle approach isn't to magically transform the painful task into an easy one. The goal is to elevate our capacity for endurance. It is to take the overwhelming and make it manageable.
It allows you to process the unyielding parts of life without losing your own softness in the process.
So, the next time you find yourself staring down a thorny, overwhelming task, when you feel your jaw clenching and your shoulders rising up to your ears, pause and remember the camel.
Take a breath.
Check your approach. Ask yourself, are you about to use brute force and drive the spike deeper? Or can you find a way to apply a sweet tongue, relax your resistance, and gently maneuver the sharp edges so they don't cut you?
It definitely requires practice to override that initial instinct for force.
It does, which actually leads to a fascinating, broader perspective. I want to leave you with a final thought today, something to mull over on your own that builds on this proverb. The text focuses on how the sweet tongue allows the camel to consume the thorns in the immediate moment.
Right, it's a tactical maneuver for a single meal.
Exactly. But consider the long-term compounding effect on a human life.
The psychological shift over time.
Think about it. If you consistently apply patience and gentleness to harsh, unpleasant situations, does it eventually change how you actually perceive the thorns around you?
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, if you stop fighting the reality of difficult tasks, do those tasks start to look less threatening simply because you know you possess the exact mechanism to handle them? Or do the thorns always remain just as sharp, just as objectively terrifying, and this practice simply makes you an undeniable master of your own resilience? It is a subtle distinction, but a profound one.
Does the desert change, or do you?
Exactly. It brings us right back to our original assumption. When you look out at a harsh, overwhelming week on your calendar, you might think you need to build a suit of armor just to survive.
But maybe you don't.
Maybe the strongest, most resilient thing you can possibly be is soft. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.